Collins Speaking for IELTS, 2nd edition. Copyright HarperCollins Publishers, 2019. Track 113. Would you feel nervous about going on holiday alone? Do you enjoy traveling with your family? Are you scared of flying? Have you been away this year? Do you like to try and learn the language of the country you're traveling to? Are there any differences between what young people like to do on holiday and what older people like to do? Did you have a good time on your last holiday? Do you mind roughing it? If you won £1 million, would you spend it on a round-the-world trip? Track 114. Is your country popular with tourists? What sights and activities would you recommend to a tourist visiting your town or region? Do you enjoy active holidays? Tell me what your ideal holiday would be. Track 115.
Is your country popular with tourists?
Oh, yes, it is. It's a key tourist destination. It isn't popular with sun seekers because, well, we don't get a lot of sun. But people who are into culture and history love it. We get millions of visitors every year.
What sights and activities would you recommend to a tourist visiting your town or region?
There are a great number of ancient sites near here, for example, burial mounds and stone circles. They're fascinating, and I'd recommend that everyone sees them. Luckily, it's actually better if the weather is cloudy or wet when you're visiting those sites, because it adds to the atmosphere.
Do you enjoy active holidays?
Yes, I certainly do. I hate just sitting on a beach. I love hiking. Last year I went hiking in Italy with some friends. It was incredibly tough, but really rewarding, and I got very fit. We want to do something similar next year if we can save enough money.
Tell me what your ideal holiday would be.
My ideal holiday is when I discover new things, but I wouldn't say I have one ideal holiday in mind. However, it's true that I would love to go to South America, especially Peru. I believe it's great for hikers and the landscape just looks breathtaking. I speak some Spanish too, so I could communicate with the locals.
Track 116. I'd like to tell you about the time I went backpacking around Spain. I can't quite believe it, but it was over a decade ago now. 2 friends and I got very good value rail passes and traveled around Spain for 3 months. It was an unforgettable experience. We started off in Madrid because that's where we landed. We did some sightseeing, we especially loved the parks, and we ate and drank lots. Our favorite thing was, of course, the delicious ham. We liked the nightlife in Madrid too, not least eating out. It was a real experience. The locals don't go out to dinner until really late, often as late as 11 p.m. I suppose because it's so hot. So if you turn up at a restaurant early, the place is either closed or completely empty. We then went to Santiago de Compostela in the northwest, which was fabulous. And my friend is really into art, so we had to visit the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao in the north. The weather was dreadful while we were there, so we didn't get the best impression, but even so, we enjoyed it. More people should visit that part of Spain. Then we moved on to Barcelona, Madrid's rival city. We fell in love with it. It's so different from Madrid, more bohemian in feel and more multicultural. The Gaudi architecture is so wonderfully weird, and it looks like it's from a fairy tale. We were quite sorry to leave Barcelona. After that, we saw Valencia, but not for long, unfortunately, and then we went on to Granada. What a beautiful, beautiful place! There is nothing quite like seeing the Moorish palace, the Alhambra, lit up at night. The image has stayed with me. We had wanted to visit Seville and the Extremadura region of the country, but we'd run out of money by then, so sadly we had to leave. It was a memorable holiday because I was with two good friends experiencing all these amazing cities. I don't think I could do it now because traveling so much in a relatively short time is tiring, but it was definitely the holiday of a lifetime.
Why did you choose to go to Spain?
Well, one of my friends spoke Spanish really well, so it seemed the obvious choice. I don't like going to a country without speaking any of the language. And my friend taught us Spanish as we traveled around the country. So by the end, we could order our food ourselves and talk to people, although not on any complex subjects. Track 118. 1. I hear that you're from New Zealand. 2. Saudi Arabia has an extremely cold climate. 3. Is the capital of England Tokyo? 4. Scotland lies to the south of England. Track 121. The benefits of travel. Do you think it's true that travel broadens the mind? Do young people and older people benefit differently from traveling? How can you make sure you get the most from your travels? The impact of tourism. What are the positive impacts of tourism? What about the negative impacts of tourism? How has tourism impacted tourist sites in your country? Track 122.
Do you think it's true that travel broadens the mind?
I do, yes. I wouldn't want to criticize people who haven't traveled because that is often due to a lack of opportunity. I doubt any of my great-grandparents' generation ever traveled anywhere, but I can't help but think that it does make you a more open-minded person, as you see different ways of living, eating, drinking, and makes you get involved with other people. Also, it allows you to see your own culture more objectively. It also leads to you having a wider range of experiences and makes you more interesting to talk to.
Do young people and older people benefit differently from travelling?
I think younger people prefer adventure and having fun, and older people like to relax more because they have so many responsibilities at home and they just want to switch off when they go away. Of course, that's a generalization, but I know it's true of me, though.
How can you make sure you get the most from your travels?
I've always thought learning something of the language of the country you're going to is the best possible way of getting the most out of your holiday. That way, the locals won't see you as an outsider, but rather as someone who has made the effort of learning some of their language and so must have an interest in their culture.
What are the positive impacts of tourism?
Oh, there are many. Tourism brings investment and better infrastructure to poorer communities. This means that tourists find it easier to get around, but it also leads to an improved quality of life for the local people. It also brings about more work opportunities for the local community. For example, previously, they may just have had fishing or farming, but tourism opens up the possibility of better paid jobs.
What about the negative impacts of tourism?
Well, I've seen areas where large numbers of visitors have had a negative effect on local habitats. For example, coral reefs in the Caribbean. It's really tragic. The best solution, as far as the wildlife is concerned, would be to ban tourism for a few decades to let the reefs recover. However, the local economy has come to rely on tourism, and there would be a lot of disruption to that if the government were to take that major step.
How has tourism impacted tourist sites in your country?
Because my country is not a big tourist destination yet, I think the small number of visitors we get have had a positive effect. For example, small souvenir shops now have more customers because of the visitors coming to see our temples.